New Again space. So thank you for the invitation. I know that I've gotten to share this with you before, but it always helps me to reflect on the fact that Kurt baptized me when I was a little girl in Clarksburg, and that's a very vivid memory for me. So watching these kids at Camp Cowan, those powerful things that happen at a young age and how they can shape and form you through your life really do take such deep root when you reflect on your own experiences. So thank you for the work you do supporting those young people and the journey that they're on. I am a pastoral counselor, and I have had the opportunity to be in a lot of different places with a lot of different people experiencing a lot of different things. And I suppose just as you track through life, that is the case, and that does happen. You accumulate a lot of stories. And like many of us, I'm sure, I have my favorite Bible stories that I hold close. And this little short story about Caleb's daughter, Achsah, has stuck with me for a while. And I don't know where I first came across her name or what happened in her life, but I'd like to share it with you today. The book of Joshua, chapter 15, verses 16 through 19. Caleb drove out 3 Anakim from Hebron, Sheshai, Ahiman, and Talmai, all descendants of Anak. He marched up from there against the people of Debir. Debir used to be called Kiriath Sepher. Caleb said, "Whoever attacks Kiriath Sepher and takes it, I will give my daughter Achsah to him as his wife." Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's brother, took it, so Caleb gave him his daughter Achsah as his wife. When she arrived, she got him to ask for farmland from her father. As she dismounted from her donkey, Caleb asked her, "What would you like?" She said, "Give me a marriage gift. You've given me desert land. Now give me pools of water." And he gave her the upper and the lower pools. I believe it is a reasonable thing to be optimistic. Amanda Palmer is an artist who penned a memoir entitled The Art of Asking. In a TED Talk based around her story and on the same topic, she speaks of her life singing, playing music, and busking in her community. She frames asking as an act of connection and vulnerability. And her stories from her life as a busker, like the man who plays his guitar near the hospital along 7th Street, depict this with great clarity. She speaks with lightness about offering flowers to passerby who often drop change and bills into a nearby hat. As Palmer's story unfolds, she details how the depth of asking expands with the growth of social media. She outlines her journey of utilizing Twitter, now X, and asking for couches to crash on during her tour, to being an early adopter of Patreon, allowing her fans to directly connect with her and her work. Patreon is a crowdfunding page which allows regular folks to become patrons of their favorite creators' work at an array of prices that fit a variety of budgets. She says she herself became the hat, stating, "Through the very act of asking people, I've connected with them. And when you connect with them, people want to help you." The story isn't seamless, though. Palmer speaks of the anger she receives from strangers, being perceived as greedy for asking for help with her work. Asking is scary. Asking is vulnerable. Asking requires trust, hope, and optimism. In our text today, Achsah is here too, in the optimism of asking. When I was a seminary student, our professors would have us practice exegeting a text, to sit with it like you might sit with a friend and see what it has to tell you. They sought to help us look for markers in the text to discern what needed our attention. This story of Achsah appears in 3 different locations: in 1 Chronicles, in Joshua, and in the book of Judges. The repetition should get our attention. Also, in all 3 of those locations, Achsah is called by her own name, not just identified by her relationship to her father or her husband. In a time when women were largely defined by the men in their lives, we have yet another reason to take note of Achsah and her story. In this text, Achsah's father, Caleb, has received the reward of land after a season of a lengthy battle. Caleb has a unique reputation all his own in Scripture for being optimistic when conquering a new land with courage and the spirit of an overcomer. He's named alongside Moses and Joshua for his bravery. Like her father, Achsah is bold. When she and her husband receive the dowry, let's call it, for her marriage, there are no springs of water on the land. We can imagine her concern. Achsah herself goes to her father to ask for a spring of water, and the scripture tells us that her father gave her land with not just 1 spring, but 2. Caleb's perspective is contagious. Gratitude exists not only in receiving what we hope for, long for, need, or desire. Gratitude shows up in the position we take while we're waiting, and you'll never regret showing up. As a pastoral counselor, I prefer to take a transpersonal perspective when working with clients. This approach allows for making meaning of the events in our lives through spiritual lenses. This can involve the use of dreams, stories, myths, or archetypes. Joseph Campbell famously outlined the hero's journey, a popular perspective on the common arc of any story. He's used it from Odysseus to Noah, even to Luke Skywalker. For me, it's a powerful map that can assist us in our own lives. When we know there are ebbs and flows to be expected, we're better prepared when they arrive. Working alongside Campbell, Maureen Murdoch adds her own flavor to this tale and crafts the heroine's journey. A distinct difference between the two is that the heroine always descends into darkness and most assuredly comes back out again. One of my favorite television heroes of late is the Kansas-born, UK-bound football-turned-soccer coach Ted Lasso, who says that no fairy tale ends in the middle of a dark forest. To quote Coach Lasso, fairy tales do not start, nor do they end in the dark forest. That son of a gun always shows up smack dab in the middle of a story, but it will all work out. Now, it may not work out how you think it will or how you hope it does, but believe me, it will all work out. When we think of gratitude, we must be amazed. We live in a phenomenal universe. The James Webb Telescope is regularly delivering breathtaking images of what lies beyond the vastness of our planet. Dark matter regularly confounds and astounds some of the brightest minds of our time, and yet it exists all the same. Mirroring occurs in atoms, which we're all made up of, in such an astonishing way that it defies explanation. How one atom can be impacted by what happens to another atom at a great distance away. String theory, in my laywoman's terms, is composed of tiny resonant strings vibrating in unique complexity across all forms of life. If that doesn't sound like God, I don't know what does. Research on gratitude and spirituality shows the protective factors they provide when we're faced with mental health challenges and predicaments. In Walt Disney's Sleeping Beauty, Princess Aurora is blessed by 3 fairies after her birth. Flora and fauna offer some truly lovely albeit very 50s era specific gifts of being beautiful and singing well. Before Merryweather can offer her gift to the princess, the evil Maleficent busts up the party and predicts that the princess will meet her end on her 16th birthday when she pricks her finger on a spinning wheel. After Maleficent disappears in a dastardly flourish, Merryweather realizes she cannot undo what's been done, but she can soften the blow. She says the princess will live. She'll simply fall into a deep sleep. And, not to spoil the ending, indeed she does, and wakes up to find her happily ever after. From Disney to Lasso to Achsah, we can see where the story shifts. When Achsah finds herself faced with the proposition of having land but no water, she dares to ask her father for what it is she needs. In his great compassion, Caleb sees and hears his daughter. She is called by name. She is given more than she asked for. As a daughter of the Most High, I can certainly say I have found this to be true. I am seen, I am called by name, I am given more than I ask for. Stories offer us a roadmap. When we find that we're not where we hoped we might be, we needn't despair. The stories tell us this is part of the process, part of becoming, part of being us. We join in the litany of so many before us who have found themselves in the darkness of lack, lost and wandering, but it's always important to remember, not all who wander are lost. Gratitude comes not only in receiving, but in the asking. Asking prompts us towards change, action, and creativity. It prompts us towards optimism, and that is a good thing.